So this journey is not just for those people who are like, I want to get rich, I want to be famous. No, it's not. This is not for those people. I mean, yes, of course, this can also help. But this is really for you to live with your highest vibrancy, with the most life force, with being healthy and experiencing life for what it has to offer, for everything that it has to offer. The discomfort of growth and transformation is fascinatingly complex, difficult. Not quite difficult, but complex. Yeah, it is also difficult actually. There's the neurological discomfort of forming new neural pathways and breaking established patterns. The identity crisis that can come when we no longer recognize our familiar ways. The grief of letting go of parts of ourselves that, while dysfunctional, helped us survive. The vulnerability of being a beginner at new ways of being. That is a hard one. That's a hard one. I struggled with that. I mean, in some forms, I was able to do it, but it makes you feel so unevolved, so small. It makes you feel like you're a beginner, immature. And in some ways you are when you're entering this new journey, and you have to let go of parts of yourself and enter into new ways of being. You are a beginner, but it's just so funny that it just makes you feel unevolved, and it's not a good feeling. And then relational disruption occurs when others respond to our changes with resistance. This happens a lot in relationships when things have been one way and one of the partners starts to change and they no longer want to tolerate certain treatment, or they want more help in the house, or they have different needs or different values, and they've had an evolution. And when they start to demand more responsibility from the other one, more respect, more maturity, usually it's extremely difficult for the partner that is not in a growth state, because all this time they've gotten away with it. All this time things were just this way. So now all of a sudden you're demanding more from them. If they are not ready to do that work, to transcend, it creates a lot of conflict. And if someone doesn't respect you and does not respect your boundaries or your needs, and you have allowed poor treatment and you begin to set boundaries, all hell breaks loose. The partner that doesn't respect you will do everything possible to keep you in your place, to keep you beneath them. They will threaten to leave you. Usually it's threaten the relationship, not threaten to leave you. They will diminish you, discard you, berate you, where they can step on you. Because when you demand for them to respect your boundaries, they have to now do the growth. They have to do the change. And what happens when you change? You trigger the ego. And it freaks out. So if you're a person that is not ready to do the work, it can be very difficult. So relationships start to struggle. And it makes it really hard for the person doing the growth. Because if you are someone who believes or who has learned that you don't deserve to have boundaries, and then you place a boundary and the reaction is aggression, then it's like they're telling you they're in a sense confirming your demons, confirming your voices. That is true, you see. When you place a boundary, it's dangerous. Because people who don't place boundaries are afraid to put boundaries. Because they believe that if you place a boundary, they're going to leave you. Right? So if you place a boundary and they react and they threaten to leave you, your internal voices just tell you, you see, you shouldn't do this. But you have to go against it. You have to ignore your voices and go through them. Continue to put those boundaries. Fundamental transformation often feels worse before it feels better. It's like cleaning an infected wound. Yes, there is a counterintuitive aspect to change. And it's dangerous because you can interpret your discomfort as evidence that you're doing something wrong, rather than recognizing it as an inherent part of growth. And that is where the tricky need for self-awareness and deciphering is that it's like a delicate form of internal listening. You have to be able to separate what is the discomfort of change, that I'm walking into new grounds, so my old imprints are freaking out, and what is the discomfort of the ego, right? Because the discomfort, the ego starts to fire up all these different narratives, voices. You even get physical sensations of terror when you walked into this new self. And you have to learn to listen and inquire, what is the authentic part and what is the egoic part? What is the survival imprint? That's where the tricky situation is. It is a listening game of your internal self, an internal inquiring, carefully listening, and be able to separate the two. The discomfort of change has those two aspects. Since change involves expanding into our unrealized potential, understanding the shadow becomes highly relevant because it contains disowned aspects of our authentic self, including positive qualities, talents, and capacities that we've been unable to claim. When we are at that cliff's edge of potential, part of what we are expanding into is the reclamation of these shadow aspects. According to Carl Jung, the shadow exists primarily in the unconscious mind, outside our aware self-concept. The repressed content contains aspects of ourself that we've denied, suppressed, or disowned. Compensatory functions as a counterbalance to our conscious persona or public identity. It is emotionally charged, carries significant emotional energy due to the effort required to keep it repressed. It is also autonomous. It can act independently of our conscious will when triggered. So, what the shadow contains? The denied negative qualities, traits considered socially unacceptable, such as aggression, selfishness, envy, laziness, lust, shame, guilt, or fear. Cultural taboos, qualities forbidden by family, religion, or cultural norms. Disowned positive qualities, talents, abilities, and strengths we've been unable to acknowledge or claim. I'm sure you guys know someone that has diminished themselves or is unable to manifest their full self due to the inability to claim their talent, due to childhood trauma or, repression, oppression, control, which is a form of oppression. I'm sure you guys know. And lastly but not least, primitive impulses. Survival instincts, basic drives, and desires that are considered animal or uncivilized. Eating with your hands. No, not eating with your hands. Now let's look at how the shadow operates. It projects. We see our own denied qualities in others, often with intense emotional reaction. What strongly triggers us in others usually reveals our shadow content. Dreams and fantasies. Appears in dreams, often as threatening or unfamiliar figures. However, I think it also appears in familiar figures, because I've been having certain dreams lately about a certain someone, and they're very repetitive, and they all have a similar feel to it, and I've been trying to figure out what it is, and I think I'm getting closer to it. I think I'm getting closer to it, but definitely there's the shadow. It's trying to tell me something, and there is we'll not get into it. There's no need to talk about me right now anyways, because the story can go very deep. Slips and accidents. Emerges in Freudian slips, unexpected behaviors, or seemingly accidental actions. And compensation. I find this one really interesting, powerful, and insightful, and it has actually helped me a lot in the last week or so, since I've been doing all the research for this episode. It has helped me a lot. I've already used it, and this is what it has helped me to decipher some of the dreams and some of these impulses that were coming out unexpectedly from me. Compensation creates a psychic balance by offsetting overly one-sided conscious attitudes. If we repress sexuality, the unconscious may compensate with erotic dreams or sudden uncomfortable attraction to people we shouldn't want. Not to corrupt us, but to restore our wholeness by bringing that energy back into awareness. If we build a conscious identity around being endlessly agreeable, our unconscious may burst through with rebellion, irritability, or a desire to withdraw, reclaiming the assertiveness we've denied. If we pride ourselves on being purely rational and unemotional, our unconscious may send waves of irrational feelings, intense attractions, or emotional outbursts to restore the feelings side of life. Even extreme self-confidence can be balanced by dreams of failure or moments of deep insecurity. The psychic's aim is not to punish us, but to remind us that the self is bigger than the masks we wear, and that every part of us, even the ones we've buried, belong. They belong to be seen. And this, I've been experiencing these outbursts of certain emotions to remind me that I'm still grieving certain things. That as much as I'm being very productive and I'm doing and I'm happy and I'm appreciating life, there's a part of me still grieving, and I will get these outbursts of emotions. And definitely you can see these sexually repressed people. They will have intense dreams or attractions or distortions of overly sexual projections onto things that are not necessarily sexual. So that is your psyche trying to balance and trying to tell you, hey, these parts of us also belongs. accept it, allow it. The beautiful thing about this is you can't escape it. You guys, you can't escape it. It cannot be escaped. It's so cool, man. I just find it fascinating. I find it helpful, and it when you start to really integrate this knowledge and really become aware and listen, it really helps you to get through things easier. Makes you understand the journey we take. Makes you understand different things that happen in the body, and that, hey, just allow them to happen. Pay attention, listen, walk with your alignment, and don't get distracted by all the noise of the ego, man. It's so distracting, bringing you insecurities, bringing you distrustful, bringing you rage, bringing you fear, numbing you. You know, how do you get through? How do you navigate all of this? I'm finding this knowledge to be extremely valuable. It is so tricky though, because the ego can take it and corrupt everything. Goddamn ego. Next episode is going to be about the ego, so. Yes, as you can see, it holds paradoxical qualities. It is both the source of problems and vitality. It contains destructive elements, but also creative energy. That's why it's so important to claim it. But we will also see why it's important to look at the destructive side of the shadow. And it contains personal and collective imprints. It is both threatening and liberating. Change rarely starts in comfort. It begins in tension, in that quiet place where your authentic self is locked away, living behind a mask you've worn for years. For example, you may love someone from a different culture, ethnicity, or religion, but repress that to please your parents. Your shadow holds that truth like a secret. And when you finally face it, feels like standing in the middle of a storm. Guilt and loyalty pulling you one way, and authenticity pulling you the other way. There's this splitting apart. It is the guilt and the loyalty for your parents, for the culture you grew up. And then you have the authenticity pulling you the other way. And this can cause a tearing apart or an internal war, right? An internal chaos or friction that you may have your authenticity and your true self against the cultural or parental imprints. And it is really destructive. It also requires a lot of energy to keep that tension, to be repressing your truth, to leave an imprint for somebody else. It uses physical energy, like really is using life force, vitality, to get less of it. So, for those who have this fight that's tearing you apart, choose wisely. Choose very wisely and bravely. Choose with courage, In this internal war, this internal conflict that you have with your authenticity on one side and the imprint in the other, it makes you wonder if you can even bear the weight. But when you choose truth, at first it feels like the storm roars deeper, it gets angrier. But quickly there's a sense of peace. There's a depth of peace because your truth has been chosen. So that's when, if you listen, right? If you listen to that, the depth of your core, you start to feel that the storm begins to break. It passes. And in its place comes a deep steady warmth, the kind that comes from finally living as yourself, as your true self. Very powerful, very peaceful, very empowering, and unmovable, grounded, solid, and unable to be manipulated. Because this is the irony. The farther you are from your truth, the more capable you are of being manipulated. I understand that the ego likes to fear manipulation, right? So when you are not connected to your true self, you are consistently fearing manipulation. Why is that? Because you are in a state of manipulated, right? You are living an illusion. You are living a mask, which is in a sense kind of like a manipulation, right? It is in a sense a brainwashing, an imprint that is not yours. And of course, when you live like that, you project that and think others will do that to you, that you are doing to yourself. So the farther you are from your true self, the more inclined and the easier it is to be manipulated, because you are already in a state of manipulation and you don't hold grounded truth and movable truth of yourself. It's very hard to even see manipulation. And that's something that I have had personally. Not only did it happen to me, but I saw it. I saw how people who are not deeply connected to their authentic self couldn't even tell when someone was manipulating them. They couldn't tell. They would get lost in the manipulation, and they would believe the narratives of a manipulative person. So that's another reason why you want to be grounded in your truth. Not just the fact that it gives you so much more life, so much more vitality, and it really is healthier for the world itself, but because you're safer from others' toxic claws, from others who want to manipulate you and use you. You actually are safer. So to not live in your truth makes you and puts you in danger of others to abuse you. It's ironic, isn't it? I know. It's very ironic. For example, you may be an exuberant woman, vibrant in color and personality, but to avoid being called too much, you dim your light. Not cool, but understandable. That's right. Never. You were never meant to be small. Never. Don't shrink yourselves. Don't shrink yourself. Here's another fun example. Definitely something I can relate, although I've never really dimmed my light. Actually, I have. In some forms, I have. Definitely, I have. What am I saying? I'm a very loud, bold person, but I did dim my creativity, my intelligence, and I have had the experience of others wanting to dim my boldness. Although they loved that about me, and that's what they originally got attracted to me for, but once they had me, it's like they needed to contain it, they needed to own it, and they didn't want anybody else to see it. But here's a fun example. When the first time comes that you begin to dress more boldly, more vibrantly, it feels awkward, almost exposed to all those judging eyes, naked, like stepping into blinding sunlight after years of being in a dim room. You might instinctively shrink back to your dim self, thinking like, it's too much, I'm being too much, worried about the eyes on you, And the judgment saying you're asking for it and it will be your fault when you get it. Bullshit. I'm sorry guys, I have to call it. We're gonna pause right there for a second. The idea that you're asking for it for what you wear, it has to be said, it is a fucking myth, it is bullshit, it's a narrative, that's not how it works. Okay? People who take advantage of other people, doesn't matter what it is not about sex, it's not about the clothing you wear, it is about power. It's about using your force to feel power over someone. And usually victims are people who dress with a lot of layers, who are very shy, very small, very scared, because they're not gonna put up a fight. So, back. Let's get back to our point. So when you dress exuberantly, as your authentic self calls for, you feel that nakedness, you feel all the judging eyes of you, you feel exposed. But each time you step into that light of yourself, the fear fades, your colors deepen, and you remember you were never meant to be small. Fuck no. Never make yourself small. And perhaps as a child, you were shamed, blamed, or abandoned. And your shadow has carried that weight ever since. So when you begin to name it, when you begin to name your shame, see it. Your abandonment, see it. Name it, feel it, expose it. This change feels like walking into a cold, dark cave, and every part of you wants to run from it. But if you keep going, your eyes adjust. You see the hidden parts of yourself, the ones you thought were gone, and the cave transforms. No longer it resembles a place of punishment, but a place of power. That's the thing, that when you face your demons, when you walk into that cave, that dark, cold cave that makes you want to run away, but you don't, and you stay there, and you feel everything you need to feel, and you understand and decipher everything you need to decipher within you, you actually turn everything that was your demons, your limitations, your fear, into a power that is there to protect you. You turn it all into wisdom. It's not just knowledge, because knowledge plus action equals wisdom. When you walk into the place and you do the work, that is you getting knowledge, doing the action, and gaining wisdom. And with that wisdom, those demons that once were paralyzing are now part of your empowerment, are now the new comfort zone, are now what helps you fly, in a sense. I like to be dramatic. It does feel like it though. The emotional body is so magical in a sense that makes you feel like you have the absolute biggest terror and monsters destroying you, and then absolute bliss and desire that you're traveling through the stars, like someone is taking you to the moon. So there is a romance with the journey of emotions, because they truly take you to places beyond your body. That is what change feels like. A mixture of terror, exhilaration, and peace. Can that even be real? I mean, none of those things go hand in hand. But that is what you're working with when you enter this journey of change. The terror of walking through your fear, the exhilaration of meeting your new self, and the peace for choosing your truth. And it is the courage to open the box you swore you'd never touch. It is the discomfort of standing in a light that feels too bright. I say this slowly because it's very personal. I have been there. And this, which I find very powerful and very real, it is the steady, unshakable peace that comes from meeting yourself there and no longer turning away. Why are you dying? You're so... What is it? Huh? What happened to you? Stop dying. Put you closer to that. It is the trembling step you've been avoiding your whole life. And it is the steady, unshakable peace that comes from meeting yourself there and no longer running away. There is a power in that, a peace, a confidence that is born from doing such journey where you can meet yourself there and not run away. It is unimaginable. Okay, so this episode was getting really long, so I've cut it into two. We'll pause it here, but this journey does not stop. We need to look at the shadow self, how to look at all the different parts, what ends up in the shadow, what are the negative qualities and the positive qualities. They're not so much negative qualities, but it is qualities that are deemed wrong, that can hurt us, qualities that are deemed wrong, that can liberate us. Both end up in the shadow distorting your reality, distorting who you are and how you perceive the world. So we need to look at that, and then looking at the next step of change, which is standing at the edge of that unknown and jumping and taking that step into that place that we fear so much and that we avoid so much, and that humanity needs this. We need it. So this will be for the next episode. Stay tuned. Make sure you sign in, you sign up, whatever. If you are in the process of wanting a different kind of change in your life, it doesn't have to be more money, doesn't have to be a different job. It just has to be a reconnection with you so you can enjoy life better. You can feel more fulfilled, more present, and not only that, a lot of physical illnesses come from repressing yourself, to not living your true self. A lot of them. So if you're feeling like there's something off, even things like eczema, asthma, muscle pains, back pain, stomach aches, IBS, headaches, all these things can come. Actually, immune system shutdowns. Look into Gabor Mate. Dr. Gabor Mate talks a lot about the physical illnesses that come from repressing your authentic self. So this journey is not just for those people who are like, I want to get rich, I want to be famous. No, it's not. This is not for those people. I mean, yes, of course, this can also help. But this is really for you to live with your highest vibrancy, with the most life force, with being healthy and experiencing life for what it has to offer, for everything that it has to offer. Okay? So stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. I'm eternally grateful for everybody that tunes in, that listens to my word, that takes the time to really hear me. I'm really, really grateful. It means a lot. Thank you so much. Peace. Also, go outside. Once you finish the episode, shut your computer, go outside. Of course, depending on what time it is it 1 a.m, 3 a.m, who knows? People all over the world, do and watch things at all hours. But remember, spend time in the present outside. Super important for your health. Ciao.